Hi. Wow. So, as we will get to know each other so profoundly within the next minutes, I want to ask you a very intimate question. Did any one of you ever feel like a complete failure in life? Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, because I always thought, when you're over 40 and still single, you're a real failure. And I thought that when I was 28. But let's get to the beginning of the story. When I was 28, I found myself in a relationship with a really nice guy. He was kind, he liked his job, he loved his girl, just that I didn't love him. And the worst thing was, I couldn't tell him and I couldn't leave him either. This pain at one point became so unbearable for me that I was looking for professional help. I sought a psychotherapist and I said, okay, I entered her office, I saw all those Sigmund Freud's and Carl Gustav Jung classics in the shelf, and I said, okay, listen, there's this thing. I'm with that guy, he's really nice. It's just that I don't love him and I don't know how to leave him, and I think it's got something to do with my father. I thought I heard Sigmund clapping and Carl Gustav bowing, but she wasn't agreeing with me on that one. She said, oh, okay, listen, you have to admit that something's completely wrong with you. This guy is completely nice, and I don't know why you are not able to love him. And she described, I'm not kidding, she described me antidepressants. And I thought, okay, there have to be faster, more benevolent, or even loving ways, and especially less narcotic ways to find an answer to that one. So I looked around and I found it's not only me. There were even books written about my generation being incapable of having loving relationships. The Gen X, born in the 70s, early 80s. And the statistic says that over 50% of all singles are over 40. So I thought, okay, I didn't have the time to ask all of them, but I'm pretty sure not everyone wants to be that. And in my profession as a hypnotherapist and helping people finding love and living love in their life, I digged even deeper because the why is just very important if you want to find real solutions. So I found two main reasons why people are doing things they don't want to do and why they stick with people they don't want to be with. That even when something is off and you don't know why, you just can't stop doing it. So the first reason I found was that, in our generation, our mothers were the first females who were independent. They could open a bank account without asking their husbands. They could even pursue a career. And when you reach that top of Maslow's pyramid, right, where it's all about self-fulfillment and transcendence, it's when those women started to bloom, to blossom, to flower, to grow, to shine. For men, nothing changed, just that their wives became so different. And for the children, it was just like really brand new situation. Like for myself, because I was standing there listening to my parents' arguments, and I was like, oh my God, guys, you gotta figure that out, because I'm depending on you. My survival is in your hands, and if you can't figure that one out, I gotta do it. Because this is what children do. If there's a gap of responsibility, they fill it. So while they were having their arguments, and society was completely overwhelmed as well, like my father was, and I started to try to make it work. I tried to fix that. Some parents even got divorced over those conversations, because when you're financially free, what do you want in a relationship? Emotional connection. And that was a brand new thing guys should get prepared to. And some of them just said, okay, you know what, I'm just going to work longer. Maybe when I get home, the storm is silent. Of course, it got even stormier. So the thing is, Of course, you can't change your parents, you can't change anyone else besides yourself, and even that is a tricky one, right? So when you try to fix things in the outer world and you realize you can't do that, I started blaming myself for being such a failure and not making to make that work. And can you imagine people like me being in the dating phase later on? Yeah, exactly. You could give me a room with 100 guys and I would pick the exact one who was in desperate need of support. Anyone ever heard or, got told to be very controlling person? A controlling person? No, never heard of it. Maybe you have a boss that's very controlling, right? Okay, let me tell you something. Those people, we aren't controlling. We are just trained to be overly responsible for nearly everything, right? So, what was my way out of that vicious circle? It was a little breakthrough. And it wasn't a nice one. It wasn't wrapped in nice paper or anything. I was in New York celebrating Thanksgiving with my friends, all of them couples, nice couples. Those guys were just comforting their women, and the ladies were so relaxed. Everyone was so happy. My boyfriend didn't even want to come. So I left that party, and I tried to numb those feelings with some chicken wings later on. And I saw my bus arriving to bring me to my apartment, and focusing on that bus, chicken wings in my right hand, all of a sudden I heard something shifting into second gear to my left. It was a yellow cab, and it didn't see me. And it hit me. It ran me over. And I was conscious enough to save the chicken wings and tried to stop that car with my left arm like Superwoman. But of course, this wasn't a movie, so it made a crack or two. And I was finding myself on the street. And I thought, oh my God, that's so shameful. Oh my God. It's not that I don't have a relationship that I want to be in, but I can't even cross the street. So there I was. They called the ambulance. I didn't want to enter that one. No, it's okay. And finding myself in an emergency room. And let me tell you something about American emergency rooms. No George Clooney, right? It's not that nice there. So the emergency responder came with that CAT scan and said, okay, Eva, your wrist is broken twice. I said, oh no, that must be a mistake. I've never broken anything in my life. And he said, yeah, okay, then that's the first time. I denied all painkillers, which brought me the word, tough German. I guessed that one already. And I did what I needed to do at that point in my life. I finally felt. I felt not only the pain in my arm, I felt the pain of being responsible in my thoughts for nearly everything. For 100% for my relationship. For everything everything I touched, I felt so responsible to solve it, to make it work, to fix it, whatever it was. And of course that energy attracted people who thought, that's a nice thing of you to do, cool. You can do that for me as well. So of course I was completely exhausted. Today we call it burnout. So there I was, and what did I do to break that cycle? I did nearly everything. I did more therapy, more coaching, I meditated, I went into silent retreats, I traveled the world, I had relationships, and what I can tell you is do whatever it takes to unbecome every layer and every aspect you weren't supposed to be in the first place. And then you will find something that's very, very magical. You'll discover the love within yourself. And when you have that present in your hands, you will attract outer love, nearly right away. And when it comes to attracting love, we Germans, we think a lot, right? We love checklists for everything. Yeah, you don't believe that, I know, I tell you, that's one. Brand new information. So, it's easy, and even an algorithm or a questionnaire with the first 3 dates can give you that. You make sure that your visions are aligned. right? So make sure that if you want to be a digital nomad, you're not marrying or getting to be with someone who wants to own a townhouse at their parents' porch, right? If you want to have kids, decide together how many, and if so, do we want them? And furthermore, it's very important to be on the same track when it comes to values. And you can check that by talking to each other as well. And whether you are into honesty or not, loyalty, personal growth, communication, personal responsibility, whatever it is. The last ingredient, which is way more magical, scientists have been looking for how to name it. Because it's more than a chemical. It's more than you want to touch, feel, hear, and be with that person all the time. It's a little poem. I got that from my partner. And this poem is one word. It's Superboom. So if you're looking for real love, make sure you have the Superboom. What's the Superboom, you might ask? It's this feeling that you're excited about that person but not anxious. It's feeling completely safe to be with that person. It's not preventing arguments, by the way, and not sleeping on the couch. It's not preventing that either. But it gives you the biggest chance to have a very loving relationship, because each one of you is responsible for 50% of that relationship. If you're sharing your relationship with more people, you do the math. That's too complicated for me. I'm sorry. But this is the deep knowing. Both of you want to make it work. And you're both all in. And that's the big difference to just going through your checklists whether this person is a great match or not. So if there's one bumper sticker advice I want to leave you with, it's this. I really wish for you to find your Superboom, to be with it, him, her. To never ever give up on love, which means to never ever give up on yourself, because you know so much more than you know. Thank you.